Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm in Brazil, South America. Welcome to Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus. We're in John's Gospel, chapter 15. We've been listening to the words of Jesus as he describes the ecosystem that Christianity can produce because the ecosystem is directly flowing from Jesus Christ, the true vine. Without the vine, there's no vineyard. Without the vine, there's no fruit. Without Jesus, we can do absolutely nothing that actually qualifies as glorifying God or making God's character visible, available in flesh and blood, in real life. I hope you're having a great day already. I know for some of you it's very early in the morning. I know that many of you get up early and the first thing you want to do is focus on Jesus, and this doing of these devotionals serves that purpose in my life as well. Things here in Brazil are good. Always never boring, always complicated, but by God's grace, one day at a time, we deliver God's love and God is glorified, and that is the point. Today we're going to talk about something really interesting. It took me a long time to understand and to appreciate, and it's called pruning. Pruning. Those of you who know how to keep a garden alive, know how to do something where you produce fruit on your own property perhaps, or in your house, you know what pruning is, but I don't have any ability in that area. But so I've had to be taught this in real practical terms, what it means to be pruned. Listen to the words of Jesus again when he says this: I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. In other words, he removes that branch out of the system and prunes. And takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Now, a pruning, if I understand it correctly, and feel free to send me messages to help me understand this better, but if my understanding is right, is a pruning is a recognition that something good happened in the past. There was good fruit, and that fruit was pleasing to the one who was dealing with the plant, the vine dresser, and so the vine dresser wants more of the same. So this is not a discipline like you did something wrong. It's actually a celebration of what you did right, but it still involves pain. A pruning is a painful experience, and the difference between discipline and pruning we often miss. When we're disciplined, God is specifically telling us about something that we've done wrong. But when we're being pruned, God is specifically telling us about something we've done correctly or something that pleased him. It's like when you're coaching someone, if you're coaching someone in sports or in cooking or whatever, you celebrate whatever they've done that's really working, but then you always make them go back to zero. And you always have to go back to zero because you know more than they know that what they've done is not quite up to what you could get from them if they understood a little bit more. Now, in a pruning, in the spiritual life, it is painful, and when we have pain in our lives as Christians, it's normal for us to say, what did I do wrong? Or why has God abandoned me? Or why did God permit this? And each one of those comes from pain that's come into our life, and no one likes pain in their life. And so we want to know whether there's a good enough reason to deal with the pain, because pain can make us bitter and resentful. Pain can make us say, I'm out of this. I don't want any more of this. So pain is no small issue in our lives. But one of the things I've learned in discipling leaders especially, and discipling Christians for many, many years, and in my own life, is that very few Christians that I know understand how to determine if the pain they're going through is a pruning. So let me give you some ideas about what pruning is. First of all, pruning is after you've had a fruitful season of some kind. Let's say that you're in a church and you lead a ministry in that church, or maybe you're even in a great job at a company where you're serving in the company, and all of a sudden someone else is promoted and you're not, or maybe you get kicked back into some work that you didn't want to do anymore, or you're in a church and you've been leading a ministry and all of a sudden there's a new pastor that comes on and everything's turned upside down, and the ministry that you were leading, they don't want you to lead anymore and they want you to lead somewhere else. If you've ever been in church life, you've been through those kind of things. So let's assume that there's a pain that comes into your life, and it comes into your life in an area where you really felt everything was good and prosperous and it was going as it should go. That's a clear sign that if the pain comes right after a fruitful season, put into your list of possibilities that it's a pruning. The second thing is, if it comes with no explanation. You know, if a father disciplines a child or a mother disciplines a child, if it's a good mom or a good dad, they always say, look, you're being disciplined for this reason. But in a pruning, no explanations are given. I don't think people who garden apologize to the plants because they're going to prune them. I think people who work with plants and know what a seasonal process is in a vineyard, for example, a seasonal process in a vineyard could take a whole year. And it's based on years and years and years of other seasons. And so when you come to the end of the season and you have the harvest, then you let the plants go to complete rest, and then you have to have a pruning so that what happened in the past doesn't mess up what should happen in the future. But I don't ever remember seeing a vine dresser apologizing. So another sign that you've had a pruning is you're just surprised. It's shocking. Why did this happen? Why did this happen to me? This was the best phase of my ministry. This was the best phase of my Christian life. Or I never served my company better. Consider that it's a pruning because God is, in a sense, God is applauding and saying, hey, that was great. Now, in order for it to continue to be able to develop correctly, I need to make sure that your pride doesn't get involved. I need to make sure that you don't think it was you. So I'm going to prune you. Now, this is what I think might help in your heart, in my heart, and in our life experience. We all have a tendency to want to build a curriculum or a resume that says how good we are. We have this tendency. It's built into the world in which we live that we want to be known for what we've done well, and we want to get credit for what we've done well, and we want to be able to put out a resume that look what I've been doing and look what I've done, and so I deserve for people to respect me. Look at this. And that is not the way the spiritual life works. The spiritual life goes back to Jesus, where we said it wasn't me, it was him. So if we get pruned, if you can picture this in a vineyard, this branch is developed and it's supported and it's cleaned and it's bearing fruit and all the attention is in there, and then our harvest comes, and and human beings, we want to say, yeah, look how much fruit passed through me. Isn't that really great? I did a great job. I know God really is pleased. Look at all that fruit. And so God, to make sure that pride doesn't enter into the process, God just zeroes us out. It's called a pruning. He zeroes us out. Now, if you have been successful in a ministry or in loving people, I think if you would go back and make a review of your personal history in church life, in your business career, in your community, you're going to find out that the things that glorified God, many times after you had a phase of true fruit bearing, there came a pruning. And you took it wrong. You thought it was punishment. Or you became resentful or bitter. So the pruning must be received as God's loving hand. Listen to these verses in 1 John chapter 5, where it says this, or chapter 4, it says this, and we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love. And he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, as Jesus is, as God is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love him first. We love him because he first loved us. Now, the goal of pruning is to remove the fear. We have a fear of not being recognized. We have a fear of not having or getting the credit. We have the fear of people abusing our goodness. We have the fear of people taking advantage of what we've done for their benefit. We have all kinds of fears. And the pruning process keeps throwing us back to Jesus. And here's we'll finish with this thought, and you can chew on this thought. When you're pruned, you're back to the essential relationship, which is the vine. And when you're pruned all the way back to the vine, here's catch this, it's really interesting. You're pruned back to the vine, so it's just you and Jesus. And then you have to admit it was him. It wasn't me. And then you also can say, but he is enough. He is enough. If all I have is Jesus, I do not need to be afraid. Now your love can flow more freely. So if you want God to perfect your love, you need to prepare for some prunings, and you'll be going along really well in a certain place in a certain way, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a surprising pain will come, and that surprising pain will drive you back to Jesus, or the pain will drive you into resentment or into bitterness. And I have seen hundreds of Christians and pastors who never accepted the fact that they were pruned by God because they were doing a good job. But they said, I'm never going to do that again because that hurt too much. Well, if your garden talked to you like that, how long would you put up with that? You're the vine dresser in your own garden, but you're not the vine dresser in God's garden. He decides when and who gets pruned. And he'll decide that in my life, and he'll decide it in your life. Think on these things a bit. It's really, really important. If all of a sudden a pain comes that nobody's explained what you did wrong, and it's quiet, and you feel very, very alone, just go to Jesus, get quiet, and then all of a sudden you go, oh yeah, it was him, not me. And he is all, and I'm going to be okay. And then start again. Start again. It's a new season, and more fruit, better fruit will come. You'll never enjoy the pain of a pruning, but it is necessary. God bless you.